Well,
Okay.
there you are, Mazdarin. I can see you drinking now.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hey,
All right.
You guys all heard you guys all heard that story, right?
No.
He's my roommate, and I show up and haven't met him before, and we're talking and find out that he's the brother-in-law to my brother. He's the brother of my brother-in-law.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
kidding.
Yeah,
So you're
and we
related?
just happened to be put into the same room.
same room, roommates,
Uh,
and,
Jesus.
and he lives in Japan. And
Have you
Yeah.
started recording yet, Naomi? Oh, she has. Well, that story will live forever
Well,
on
Great.
this website. There you go.
You're right.
Okay. Anyway,
Are you in Hawaii or are you coming to us from Hiroshima?
I am coming to you from this place that you can see right in back of me. Although
Oh, that is awesome.
this is my farm, but this picture was taken in 1937.
Gotcha.
well, welcome. We are delighted that you're here, as well as all of the people from District 5000. We thought that it would be a good idea this night before 2 days before we begin to accept new district grant applications, to actually change the form for you so that you'd have something, to really get excited about. And then also to show you how that you can fill it in easily and do everything correctly the first time, so that Dave Hamill just looks at it and goes, wow, cool, you guys are great. And we really Rotary International, okay? So thank you all for being here, and I will turn it over to our district grant chair for 2020-2021, Dave Hamill.
different.
Was I muted?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, well, let me just start from square one. Aloha, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully, can you folks see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, great. Okay, thank you. So we revised the district grant application form so that there's one form now for both the application and the final report. This grant application is on the website, on the District 5000 website, and it's in an Excel version. So anybody with a Mac or anybody with a PC can pretty easily open it up and fill in the blanks. It's a super simple process. So, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to email me about it. I'm happy to walk them through it. What I've done is I've put instructions on how to complete the grant. And Mark Harbison, thank you very much for throwing that up on the web as well. And also mahalo to our DGE for One More Day, Naomi, for revising this form and putting it into Excel format. The red boxes and red arrows are have to do with filling out the grant application. The blue boxes and blue arrows are when you are sending it in as a final report. Again, the exact same form. You don't need to fill out everything out twice. We'll only need to check a couple of boxes and get final signature for the final report. So let's just go through it real quickly. Starting at the top, you're going to actually fill in this section here and change it to the current Rotary year, which will be 2020-2021. And then you'll fill in the second section with all of your club information. So you are the sponsoring Rotary Club, the name of the project, who the leader is, email address, phone number, and so on.
Dave, can you please
Yes.
zoom in the form? It's kind
Pardon
of
me?
yeah, it's kind of small right now.
Say that again. I'm sorry, Pili, I missed that.
Sorry.
Make it larger.
Oh, make it larger. That I can do. Sure. Let me just figure out
Thank
how.
you. Sorry.
Thank you.
No problem. Is that better? Okay. Okay, so again, I won't go back over that top two sections, but pretty easy to fill out, again, in Excel format. This next section is really the meat and potatoes of the grant application. So a description, a narrative of the project, basically a simple description about what you're going to do. Location, so where is this actual work going to take place? How are Rotarians involved? That would go in this section. How will non-Rotarians benefit? So what is the benefit to the community? Who will own the supplies? Obviously, you can't buy supplies that will be owned by the Rotary Club. So who's going to actually own any equipment or supplies that are purchased with grant monies? This section here, which is super important, is how do you expect to publicize? Will it be in your newsletter, a press release? Will you put it on your website? How are you going to publicize the event? Any questions on this section or anything I've discussed thus far? Feel free to interrupt at any time.
And those who have seen the form will notice there are really no changes to this section.
That's correct. There are no significant changes to the form. It's the same as many, many years in the past, just going from a fillable PDF to an Excel. And I think, Mark, you're actually going to put a fillable PDF on the web as well. Is that right? Mark Harbison, I think he will be doing
Actually, no, this is it. This-
Okay, I stand corrected. This is it. Excel only.
Unless Naomi is.
Yes, I will put a PDF in because some people are not able to do an Excel document, but please know also that this Excel document is protected. So only the pieces, the spaces that you can fill in will be unprotected.
Naomi. Okay, now this third section is your budget for the grant. And so this is where you would fill in everything that you're planning on purchasing, the total dollar amount of the grant itself. So if you plan on spending a total of $2,000, that would be club money and DDF money combined or any other sources from funds. The total amount would go in here and you would itemize it exactly what you're planning on spending it on. Okay, so, oh, sorry, let me go back just a second. Slower section on page 1. So it's a 2-page form, very simple again. Now, if your club is going to be doing more than one district grant, please create 2 application forms or 3 or however many you're planning on doing. So create a separate digital file. Each of those need to be printed out because each of these, as you'll see on the second page, will be signed by your president of the club. And then also, please hold on to both a digital and the printed version, along with all the copies of the receipts. You could create a physical file and a digital file on somebody's computer somewhere. And we're keeping those for 5 years, just in case. This is something I created. I hope you guys are okay with it. If you don't do it, I'm okay. I'll rename it. But as 50 some odd clubs start sending in digital files, if you could have your project name and your club name as the title of the project. That'll just help me keep it organized. If you don't do it, if you just send it in as the application form, don't worry about it. I'll change it over in my files. Okay, and again, as discussed, this same form, the exact same form, will be used for the grant application and the final report. Okay, let's go to page 2. Okay, a few more arrows and boxes. Again, the legend is that the red is when you're filling out the application form, and then blue, you'll see down below, is for the final report. So you're going to, what you want is you want your total project budget to match the front page. And Naomi, I didn't check to see if if your Excel form moves that figure to here. Probably not, because this is a good way to double check it anyway. So let's go cash 1. Cash 1, line 1. And again, you would put your club here, your club name here. This would be the amount of club cash, if any, that you're putting towards the grant itself. So most district grants, as you know, a portion of it would come from club funds, not necessarily, but a portion usually does. The second is the match. So of the amount that the club puts in, the same amount would be matched by the district. And then that will float over here to the total. Now, if you're doing a no match, so that this is not being matched by the district, then that amount would go here. It's a little bit complicated. There's another form that we can go to next that can explain that more. As you get into it, if this is your first time doing district grants, again, please email me or give me a call. I'm happy to walk you through it. Okay, so those are those first 3 lines here. This total, you won't change that at all. That will be done automatically in the Excel form. Okay. Now there's a couple of caveats here. So again, if clubs must provide $1 for every dollar of matched DDF. Again, there are some funds on non-matched as well, potentially for your club. Correct me if I'm wrong about any of this.
Dave, I think you may have said that no match means that the district won't match, but it's really the club doesn't match, correct?
I'm sorry, that is correct. Yes, the club does not have to match that. You are correct. Thanks for correcting me.
Can you clarify that a little bit?
Do what?
Can you clarify that a little bit?
Okay, so yeah, and I will, we can go to another form in just a moment, but of the total allocation to your club from the funds that you're going to receive, a portion is considered matched and a portion is considered no match. The no match funds, which are much smaller, I believe it's 20% of the total, you actually don't have to come up with club funds. You don't have to match that with club funds. So that would be in this section here. Okay, so when you look at your club's allocation, you'll see how much is matched and how much is no match. And I'll take you to that form in a moment. But again, as Dave said, the no match means that the district will give you, well, not give you, will let you use that money if your grant application is approved, and you don't have to match it with club funds. Does that make sense, Pili?
Yeah, I think that I'm more confused about what is considered a not match allocation, like what amounts will bring me to be not match money.
Well,
Okay.
I don't know that I can answer that, maybe Laura or Naomi, but I'll take a quick stab at it. I think the intent of the matched funds is to make the grant itself, the impact of the grant, bigger by requiring that the club matches those funds 1-to-1. The no match amount it's an additional amount that you can use towards the same grant if you want, or you can use it for another grant that does not require matching club funds. I think it really has to do with trying to build the size of the grant as large as possible for the maximum benefit of the community. Does that sound about right, Laura or Naomi?
Yeah.
Yeah, can I jump in here for a sec?
Okay, well, let me just add one sentence there, right? Which is our underlying hope is that every club will participate in a district grant in some form or another, all right? And so each year the foundation committee meets, and Rotary International allows us to take 50% of the district designated funds coming back to us and use it for district grants. And then the committee decided again this year that on those 50%, we would use 20% as no match. All you have to do is come up with a project and ask for the money. For those clubs that really don't have very many resources to be able to help to match the funds. And then the additional 30% is that you can take that 30%, that extra money, the club can match it with club cash. And as Dave said, you can build a bigger project with it. But the underlying idea behind the no match was to keep it like the old district simplified grants were, that you got 20% that you could use for a community project. Does that help? Any?
Yeah.
We can keep going, and maybe over time I get more clear about it. If no, I'll call you guys. Don't worry.
And can I explain a little bit more? The club allocations that you guys got at PETS, take a look at that and it'll show you what your allocations for no match and match are. And when Laura and Dave talk about expanding the program, the idea is that when you guys as leaders, as presidents, you're trying to promote the foundation and also to outsiders. So when you're doing your P&R, for example, it is more impressive to the public if you say the Rotary Foundation bought $2,000 worth of dictionaries. So in other words, if you can, use a little bit more of your club cash than you have to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so for your members, it makes the program sound more impressive. It's better marketing for the foundation, and for the public, it's better marketing for the size of your local projects.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, back to the form. So now there's this section here that says cash provided from non-Rotary organizations is not eligible for any of the matched DDF funds. So those would need to be listed separately here. It would still show up as cash, but there would be no way that the district would match a donation from a non-Rotary organization. That's just typical, been standard policy for a long time. So as an example, say your club pitched in some money and you've got matched from DDF, but then there's another, say a friend of the organization that you're trying to help that would also like to pitch in. That money would not be matched by the district because it's not considered part from a Rotary club. Is that clear for everybody? Okay, and again, the total amount shown must match the total amount budgeted on page 1. So just make sure that this total here, right there, well, not all that, this portion here matches that front page. Okay.
Dave,
Yes?
Ms. Naomi, I think
Question. I just wanted to ask, is it ever a reason that you would have more than one club listed here?
Not normally. Normally, the district grants, they're not generally large amounts. And so typically it would be just one club applying for the grant.
Yeah,
Well-
Lonnie, if, for example, if you're doing rescue tubes and your club is using DDF, and another club wants to come in on the same project and they only have cash, you can put them on the same report. But if both clubs are using DDF, each club needs to file an application, even if it's the same project.
Perfect, perfect.
Good question. Thank you. And
But
thanks, Mark, for
occasionally-
that clarification.
Sometimes there are clubs that want to just have extra cash and go in on a project after they've used their DDF. So it's okay.
okay, Dave,
Yes.
Naomi, I think we want to also remind people that the amount that the club is matching needs to be in the grant account, and we need to see that in the grant account before the grant check is released to them.
Yeah.
Very
okay.
good point. Thank you, Naomi. So each club needs to have 2 checking accounts. One for your regular club activities, operations, paying for lunches, what have you. And a second checking account specifically named, titled District Grant Account. And the reason is we don't want to commingle funds. We trust everyone, but we sometimes are audited, and it's important that the funds are kept in a completely separate account. So as Naomi was saying, when you apply for the grant, then it's actually one of the requirements is to show us that you have any funds that you're planning on matching, again, up here, that are getting matched, that you show us that you've already deposited those club funds into your district grant account. And that has to be done prior to releasing the grant check to you. Thank you, Naomi, for reminding me about that. Any questions on this thus far? Okay, so let's go down a little bit more. This section should be...
Dave,
Yes.
Lonnie has a question.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, I don't have the full screen up. Lonnie, what was the question?
We've had a separate grant account the whole time I've been a member, but it's just called grant account. It doesn't say district grant. Is that an issue?
No, I don't think that's a big issue at all.
The
Okay.
auditor started off with it being a bit an issue, and then he kind of mellowed.
Okay, so project reporting. So this is generally going to be that same person who's the leader of the project, but not necessarily. Sometimes clubs have different people who are responsible for the actual final reports. Maybe the treasurer or somebody like that in your club secretary who would be responsible to fill out the final grant report, which again is very simple, and submit the receipts. So that would go into this section here. Okay, next section. This section here, your club president. So 2020, 2021, your current club president for next Rotary year would put their name, their signature, put their club and the date. And what they're signing is that they will comply to these conditions. And again, pretty simple. I think I've gone over most of that stuff before or already. Again, very simple. Okay, that's it. That is the application process. And you would save it, you can email it. You will have to scan because we're going to require the signature unless you have a digital signature, which is acceptable. But you'll have to print and then scan and send the file to me that way. And again, might as well print it because you're going to be keeping a copy of it as well. Marianne, you have a question.
Yeah, can you go back up to the project reporting?
The reporting.
Well, and then even the authorization and the at the bottom, I don't see anywhere. Okay, there's, all right, project information, project leader name. All right, you have an email address for project leader name, but the project reporting could be somebody else, and there's no place for an email address I didn't see.
Good point. We
Their
didn't
phone
think of
number.
that.
Name
We
and phone number,
certainly
yeah.
have enough room.
Okay, I'll add it in.
Thank you, Naomi. Okay, so now let's talk about sending the final report. So again, those are going to be the blue boxes and the blue arrows. Very simple. Just got to check this, that it's the final report. That's on page 1. Now, this one here is if there are no changes to your original budget, you would check there. So it's just a quick way for us to look at the form and know that there were no changes. If you did have to change the budget for whatever reason, you know, the costs of the items turned out to be slightly different than you thought they were going to be, or something of that nature, just don't check it. And as long as the total amount still matches, there's going to be no issue with it. If you have to make, you know, significant changes, it's a different organization, or you've completely changed the grant because you can't do it for whatever reason and you've got to do something different, well, then that actually would be a conversation you'd be having with me much earlier than the final report. You would be then revising your application and sending it to me, and we would take a look, and most likely 99 times out of 100, there's not going to be any issue as long as the budget amounts don't change. Yes, Marianne.
Sorry, Dave.
That's okay. I always knew you were a troublemaker.
Yeah. What if you have a situation where the grant is, say, $1,000, but the item that the organization purchased was $1,500, and they used the $1,000 of your grant and $500 from their own money. So the receipt shows that the final cost is $1,500. What do we do in that situation? Do we only put 1,000 or 1,500?
1,500.
Mark or Laura?
This is actually a two-phase question. And Mark is right. You put the 1,500, which is the total cost of the budget, and explain the fact that 500 came from a different organization. But this is also probably a good time for me to remind everybody that this year is a highly unusual year in that we're writing checks to Salvation Army and IHS and people like that. Most for next year and in the future, the requirements are that there is Rotarian participation in the grant, so that you should actually be purchasing the items that are being used for the grant and giving them to the organization, who can then put as much of their own money in as they want to. And then they can provide you with invoices, and if the invoices say 1,500 instead of 1,000, you can account for the extra 500. But you should have, again, you should not just be writing a check to an organization to use for a project. And Mark, you can add to that.
That's a fairly easy hurdle to jump. So for example, if you want to give money to the local food bank, instead of just writing a check to the local food bank and getting a thank you letter, do a project with them. You know, if they're doing Aloha Backpack Buddies, buy some backpacks, you know, or buy enough food for a backpack. Or, you know, if you want to help Food Kitchen, you know, one of the food bank agencies, say they are having Thanksgiving dinner and you want to buy them produce for the salad, so they have some fresh produce or some fresh green beans or something like that. Just make sure that you have a project and you're not just writing a check. Does that make sense? And you know, and that involves the Rotarians, because then you've got to talk to them and say, what do you need? You know, what is your priority? So then you're doing something impactful and meaningful that they'll really appreciate, and also that you can publicize as a project rather than just running a headline saying, you know, Rotary clubs give the food bank $1,000. You know, so instead of that, say Rotary gave the food bank $1,000 for local schools backpack buddies.
Rich Proctor has a question.
Yeah, I just
Does
wanted to be, yes, I just wanted to be clear. Laura, you had mentioned, because we're redoing a district grant for this year. But what I'm hearing from Dave and others is for the coming year, we got to make sure there's skin in the game. But for this year, because there were some funds that we could not spend because of COVID, it's okay for us to donate in the causes that we find appropriate for the district grant or in that umbrella. Is that correct?
Yeah. And it actually wasn't even so much that there were funds that we couldn't utilize well, part of it was that there were funds we couldn't utilize other places because we couldn't go there because of COVID. And then Rotary International also recognized that, like Mark said, we used to go into the food banks and help to pack the things and everything. They were not allowing that this year, so they said we could just write them a check for this year.
And that particular revision is due not by May 31st, obviously, but by...
It is due by May 31st, and I am calling Martha tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and saying, you promised me the report last week. I still haven't seen it, and today is the last day, or I'm going to come whack Rich Proctor on the head. Oh, no, sorry. Yes. So, yes, if you could get that final report in, final report is due by absolute drop dead date of June 30th. Guess what?
Got it. Got
it. Perfect timing. Peely,
Yeah,
same thing with you. Talk to your club.
Here's the deal, people.
I sent my report today.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
I'm clean.
Yay.
Yeah, here's the deal, people. We cannot file our new district grant with all of your district grants until we get the final report done for all of the grants from last year. Yeah. So if your current club president is not doing it, bug them, because they're delaying your money.
We're almost done. Actually, we're down to just a couple of last ones to do. So
we would know if we need to assist our president in getting something done. We would already know that they're.
You're fine.
Okay. You're fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Roz has gotten hers in. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good questions all. And yeah, Rich, just to
Sarah has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Another question.
So when is the new grant due?
Yes. We haven't talked about that, but the new grants, you can start applying as of July 1st, and you have until July 31st. So it's only a 1-month window. So we need those grant applications in by the end of July.
And this might sound like a silly question, but is it more advantageous, as in more favorable, to have it in earlier, or does it really not impact even if it comes in later in the month?
No, it's completely a fair process to all concerned. So we will accept grant applications carte blanche until the 31st of June.
I have a question. Sorry, I'm so new at this.
Okay.
No, that's what it's for.
So I was hoping that my club could apply for a district grant for our tree planting on November 28th. But I just saw that we only have like a $300. So in that case, we will have to ask for another club that may have the resources if they want to partner with us for the grant.
Correct. Okay. Yes, that's correct. So you would convince another club like Waikiki, because we've already talked about this project.
Right there, looking at me.
And they would then submit their own grant application for the same project.
Okay. So they have to submit, like, if they submit their application, it will be for the part that they will contribute?
Correct, yes. The portion of the overall project, yes.
Okay, so will we have to distribute, like, proportionally the amount for each item for the budget sort of thing? Okay.
Yes, yes and no. I mean, if, say, you have a quote for tree seedlings and for 1,000 seedlings, and you can only afford 300 of them and another club can afford 700 of them, then that same quote can be used for both. We just need it identified that the portion of that quote, and it needs to be duplicated, that both clubs would need to send in the same quote and just say that we're paying for 700 and the other club is 300. You don't need to get two quotes.
What about the costs that is not strictly the tree? What about the costs that are more like logistic backside of the project? Like, I don't know, like portable toilets, like refreshments. How does that goes including the grant? Can I ask money for that?
Yes, you can ask for certain things that will help fulfill the grant for sure. I think that it sounds like a pretty big project. And I think you should be trying to gather everything up soon and getting your arms around it so you know the actual costs involved.
So let's sit down offline and go through what all you need, and then look at the best way to maybe help you split it up for clubs. Honolulu Sunset did that with their home project this year, where they were doing a huge number of vaccines, but several clubs purchased vaccines, and then they did a lot of those logistical things you're talking about. So we can structure it so that the things that are iffy you keep control of, and the things that are easy like the seedlings you can help dole out to other people. We can help you structure that.
Okay, thank you, Lara.
Well,
I'll email you tomorrow.
By the way, the seedlings were not paid for. They're going to be donated by another organization. But wanted to ask Dave, are you going over the spreadsheet to show people how they can get their
I can, yeah, I can. I know we're kind of running a little bit long, so I can certainly jump to that next if you'd like. We can look at the spreadsheet of the allocation. Is that what you mean, or the spreadsheet showing who's done what thus far? It's two spreadsheets.
Oh my God.
Who said that? The spreadsheet on the allocation, because there is a question about the dollar amount.
Ben just asked that question, how you get the dollar amount for your.
Okay, yeah, and let me just wrap the report up. Just a couple things to circle back quickly. There was a question about what happens if you spend more than what is budgeted. And so this sometimes happens, that the exact dollar amount is exceeded. And so you have a receipt for $1,200 and you only budgeted a total of 1,000, well, that extra 200 is going to be coming out of club funds. So that's fine. You would just send me a little note saying the receipt is a little bit over because we spent more money, and that's going to be acceptable. And then just to reiterate again, yes, you actually do have to have skin in the game, as somebody said earlier. So there has to be some actual club involvement, some physical involvement. Doesn't have to be your whole club, but it has to be somebody. We want to show people we're making an impact in community, not just hand out checks. Okay, so let's wrap up the final report. Again, the blue section, you check that box if there are no changes. And then this is the final section, this blue box. Your club president will again sign and authorize that the final grant report is accurate. And then you would include the receipts with that, scan it, keep a copy for digital and hard copy records, and send it to me. That's it. Very simple. Any questions on the grant form?
Gwen has a question.
Okay. Hi, Gwen.
So your annotations are wonderful. When you go on, the form's going to be blank. How do we see those annotations after tonight?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
How
Did you
are
put that up on the website?
the notes? It is actually, it's on the District 5000 website. Is that what you said? All those annotations will be shown so we can
Yes.
follow again? Okay, thank you. I don't want to look at a blank form. I'll need to go through it again. Thank you.
Mark and Dave did all of this today. God bless them both. And Naomi. Right.
Bear with me. I'm trying to get the allocation open. Just a second. I found it. Why is it not opening for you folks? You see it? You don't see it, do you?
No.
Naomi, if you make me a host, I have it open.
You have it open? Okay, that's great. Mark, why don't I let you show the allocation then? Let me just get out of here. Okay, all yours.
Okay, hang on just a second. Let me go down here and start share screen. And here we go. Can you see that?
Not yet. There it is.
There we go.
Oh, it's the little one instead of the big. Okay.
So is it worthwhile to explain this, or is it obvious?
Just right hand. Can you
No,
expand?
let's
right
just
side?
So if you look across here and you see these numbers at the top, 2015, 2016, 2017.
Oh, don't worry about that.
This is the contributions that your club has made over the last, or over the 3 years that we have records for. So what we do is we take an average of that, and then we calculate the total of the total giving by clubs in the district. And that gives us your total DDF allocation. So I'm looking at all,
Can you sign it up so we can see what our allocation is?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Make
Can
it
you
bigger.
size it up so we can
Zoom, blow it up.
Make it bigger.
hang on a sec. Okay, so now where is my Zoom?
Bottom right, the little toggle scroll bar at the very bottom right of your screen.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. How's that? Whoops, that's too much.
There you go. That's good. That's good.
and then just go over so we can see the names. Go slowly.
I don't like that. That's too much Zoom.
Anyway, this is also up on the district website, and did we get, and we hopefully put one with just the right-hand columns that are bigger on the website. as
Yeah,
well.
So it's there. We can find
So
it.
this is still Ala Moana. Once we get the total DDF, we divide that so that 50% of that is for your district grant. So 30%, $3,000, and of that, 20% is no match, and 30% is match. So 1,800, and then you have 2,451 for global grants. And every club has that allocation. So if I get rid of this Zoom for a moment, you can see that every club has different numbers. Can you all see that?
Yeah, if
Right.
we access
So-
the website, we will.
But to answer your question,
So
Dan,
for those,
it's dependent on what you have given for the 3 prior years.
Okay.
Okay.
but the key thing, and this is what Laura was so great at explaining to me as an incoming president, as a president, and now, you know, in my Hanaho year, is it's a little bit like your 401k and the matching money from your company. So you can do the 20% without adding $1 more. So it is like free money. Just identify a project, just drive forward on it, and it's awesome. You get the 30% match when you match that 20% number. So it's this force multiplier at a low level, you know, at a modest level. But it really, if you even if you only were a new club and had $300, that means you have $60 to 20%. If you gave $60, you get $150 and the match ultimately. So, you know, my 401k, I can guarantee you at Fidelity, has never turned $60 into $150. But the most amazing, you know, and then the most amazing part is way over at the far right, if you're able to match at the global grant level. So, you know, this is my Rotary moment when I went to Bali in October to really see what the force multiplier effect of the Rotary Foundation is, and why, you know, I always gave, you know, probably in December as I was figuring my taxes and, you know, figured out my Paul Harris at the end of the year that I hadn't, you know, trued up, but, you know, it's so much easier to be, you know, a sustaining member and, you know, just make this part of your club budget to figure out where you can grow that money and use those matching funds to be, you know, an impact driver for your club. So we've been able to do some things as a tiny club much better, just exploiting the non-matched, and then when we leveraged the matching fund, you know, when we went to Bali and went big there, was so incredible. So, you know, clearly, please spread the word to other new presidents in our cohort this year that, you know, this is the greatest wellspring of opportunity that we have to have a very quick win as a new president in our new year to make an impact.
So you only go to the well once on this, right? This is one time we identify one project for the whole year. So, no.
Nope. It can be multiple.
I'm confused because you said July 30th, we had to have everything in, so.
You identify a project to use your allocation.
Okay.
But you can do it for multiple projects. I think our greatest was we had a club that put in like 8 district grant projects. Just understand for every project, you have to put in a separate report.
Okay. Okay.
Mary Ann, question?
Well, just a comment too, that the money that for these projects cannot be spent until you get the check. Right. You cannot buy things before you get the check and then save it for that project.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you. And Laura, I'm wondering if you could explain the timeline to everybody. I thought I had that document, but I couldn't find it.
Well, and we've gone over most of the important dates, which is July 1st. You can start submitting your grant applications to the email that's on the bottom, and we now have 3 people monitoring that email. Lonnie, you'll be happy to know, so that hopefully they will get picked up and not lost like I did last year so frequently. Then submit those. We need all of the submissions in by July 31st, because on August 1st, we're going to consolidate these. We send in one grant request to Rotary International, which is comprised of all of your grants. And then Rotary International reviews it and approves it. And they sometimes can take a little bit of time to do that, and they'll ask questions about some of the grants and what the money's being used for and how we're tracking and that kind of thing. For RILA one year, they asked how far we were taking the kids and whether all the people had had background checks. I mean, you know, they're asking these questions. And then hopefully we will get notification that our grant is approved and that they will put the money into the district grant account, because we are trying to get the checks to the assistant governors to distribute to the presidents by no later than September 15th. We made it last year. We got them to the assistant governors. However, we found out that not all of the checks got from the assistant governors to the presidents, because the presidents didn't get the money into the accounts and things like that. So make sure as soon as you've heard that the grant is approved, that you go ahead and have your treasurer put your matching funds into your district grant account and let your assistant governor know that. Give them a copy or send them a deposit slip or whatever, a copy of your bank statement, anything to show them that your matching funds are already in there. And then as soon as they have the check in their hot little hands, they can get it to you. And then you can start spending the money on your projects. So doing school supplies in July and August, no, that doesn't work. There is no way we can ever get the check to you before, say, September 15th is our really good deadline date. And then you do your projects. And then as soon as you've completed your project, within 2 months at the end, it says, send in your final report. You don't have to wait, but we would like all of the final reports no later than May 31st, because then we get to review them and consolidate them and get the report into Rotary International so that they can review that. And then they will turn around and tell us that our district grant for 2020-21 is complete. No, 2019-20, what year is this, Naomi? 2019-20 is complete, and we'll all go hooray, because then we can submit our grant for 2020-2021, or 20, whichever years that is. Anyway, we can't submit our new grant, we can't get the money for our new grant until the old grant is closed. It's easier with a piece of paper, but it really works that way, and it is critically important that you do that. And then in the middle of the year, in the fall, we have training and club qualifications. Those same forms we fill out every year, but it is truly a contract between you and the district and Rotary International that you will spend the money for what you said you will spend the money for. It sounds really simple, but we have to laugh sometimes. We get some reports in and we're going, this is an interesting project, but it's not what you said you were going to do. So just make sure, that's why we kind of consolidated the form. Make sure that what you say on your application you're going to do is what you end up doing and submitting your final report for. Then the district grant is really easy to consolidate. Any questions on the timeline?
And Laura, the final report is due, you said, May 30th. May 31st.
May 31st, yeah.
31st.
This year, this is an odd year. You know, we all know because we had so many district grants that people were still going to be spending money after March. You know, doing projects with schools or doing plantings and, you know, all kinds of things that you were not able to do because you couldn't get into the places where you were supposed to be doing them. So once RI lifted the restrictions, that's when we let everybody know, let us know if there's a grant that fund a project you're not going to be able to do, and you send us new forms. God bless you. So we've got a whole bunch of new applications. And then Rotary International just has told us how when we send in our final report, we're just going to zero out the old one and put the new one in down at the bottom. And they are trusting us to make sure it's for humanitarian efforts and in the Rotary cause. So that's kind of where we are this year. But next year, we're back under the regular rules as far as we know.
Okay, so we have 4 minutes left, and there is a question about qualifications. But before we go to that, Laura, if you can just really quickly say what the qualified reasons, purposes people can use, and what has been disqualified in the past.
Well, in the past, disqualified is anything where you just turn around and write a check to anybody, right? And say, this is what we're going to do. No, you have to do something with the project. You can't use it for travel, obviously. So for the Bali project, they could use it for the prosthetics being made in Bali, but they could not use it to buy Kelly's plane ticket to get to Bali. So, you know, that kind of thing. It has to fall within the purview of Rotary International's. It doesn't have to fall within the areas of focus, but it does have to follow the strategic ideals of Rotary. So interpret that how you wish.
Let me just jump in.
For the record, Kelly paid for Kelly's fare to Bali.
This is being
we paid
recorded.
for the train that we used it for the trainer to increase our impact to deaf training in Bali. So it was so incredible. So, and then Dave probably has paint on a shirt somewhere that was from the school that we also partnered with. So.
Well, that was a big project, and you guys did some good stuff while you were there.
Just dovetailing with what Laura just said, I would ask if you've got any questions about whether your grant is going to be accepted or not. Before you fill everything out and send it in, just shoot us an email saying, here's what we intend to do. Is this going to be okay?
Right. Or when you send in your grant, we will look at it and we will come back and we will say, not really so much. This isn't going to work. I'm sorry, I can't think of an idea of what hasn't worked, but yeah.
But I think one time there was a scholarship that wasn't accepted a couple of years ago.
And
well, anyway, I want to say when you get your grant checks, if you can make a presentation at the club and just say, this is the grant money that you got, that we're getting for these projects, and this money came from our members from 2 years ago. So make it a big thing so people know that this money is coming from the donations that your club members made. And if you've got a big check, make that big check and do a real big presentation. Mark?
And also, please make it clear that the DVF is coming from the Rotary Foundation, that these district grants are Rotary Foundation projects, and that they're fulfilling the mission of the Rotary Foundation. We are trying to promote Rotary, so it's not just, our members gave us money or gave the foundation money, but it's also the foundation is giving it back to us to do local projects.
Do good in the world, wherever it may be. Yes.
Naomi, another question came in from Arlene asking if the Form 990 needed to be included with a grant application.
No.
And so the answer to that is no.
No, our
Email?
postcard.
It needs to be included with your qualification documents. And there's a little bit of confusion. The qualification documents are one set of documents that you use to qualify to be able to apply for the grant the next year. The district grant application is just simply the district grant application. And the final report is that same application with the receipts and the certification that you did it. I've asked one club for their final report 3 times, and I have gotten their qualification documents 3 times. So we're going to have a little chat tomorrow. Right. Okay. But the 990 needs to be with your qualification documents. And this is a good time to mention the fact that we have not been making people give us documentation on their general excise tax, but you should be paying your general excise tax. And if you are paying your general excise tax, please send us the form that you do pay that as well, because we would like to see who is not paying it so that we can help them start paying it so that we will all be legal in a way.
And one quick note on that, the grant funds, you don't have to pay general excise tax on that.
No.
Other questions? I know we're really close to being done. Any other questions?
How do we reach you? What can you put your email in the chat, please?
Who's that? You want the
your email in the chat? Not so easy
yes,
to
I will do that. I'll do that right now. And also, by the way, there's a lot of these forms on the web. So a memorandum of understanding, the qualification checklist, the grant allocation form, the grant application form, all of those documents are on the D5000 website. You can go in and get them, don't need a passcode or anything.
The foundation tab under district grants, even the global grant allocation is under the district grants. Okay. And there is there's an email address at the bottom of the form that you can use to send in all of your documents. That's that grants@d5000.org, so that you don't have to remember Dave's email or my email or Dave Mosdren's email or Mark's email or Naomi's email or anything like that. So if you send it to the d5000.org, everybody has access to that, and we will check it religiously. Dave is here to check it religiously now. It's great.
I'm sending everybody my cell phone, the email address, and I think that's about it.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, Kelly.
No, I think I'm good. I just dropped my note into the chat. So I think the making sure you've done your qualifying, if you think you did it before, you're not sure, can we just apprise everyone again? Because I know we've tried to do it at previous spring trainings or fall trainings, and there's always some confusion. So my club has only participated in the district grant project for 2 years. This is going to be our 3rd year during my Hanaho, and I know I have learned the value of this process, but we slogged our way through a district audit last year. We didn't have everybody signing, duplicate signatures on the receipts. Some of the hallmark, requirements. And I guess we passed, but I didn't see a final report. But I think we were on the up and up. We work more financially informally through Venmo, so we have electronic records, but get that qualification paperwork in, and if everybody could be reminded again if they haven't done the required you know, the clock, the gun is going to go off on Wednesday, you know, when July 1st, when we're all started as the PE, to start our clock to get this grant in. So, you know, please do it. You know, I loved how easy it was as a first-time applicant when I was a board member and PE and as a president, and I'm going to do it again. So, you know, I encourage everybody who hasn't, you know, you have lots of people behind you. I'm far and away not an expert, but there's always great people to ask. So thank you guys so much. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Naomi, Mary Ann, everybody, you know, Dave, who's done this repeatedly and helped share the information. So appreciate.
Thank you.
Kelly.
Other questions, comments? Naomi, back to you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Dave, for all your hard work, and Mark, Laura. And yes, we are all available for questions. So this is the first time we've done one on filling out the application, and we try to make it as simple as possible, but if you have any suggestions, we can take it then for the next time. But putting those two together, the final report and the application, I think that was a miracle that we did that on time. But I think it's really going to help you, because every year somebody's asking us, can I have the original one? So make sure you're keeping your records in case you get audited, but we're supposed to be keeping the records for 5 years. So you should have a folder. I wanted to thank you all for being here. And please, if you can join us on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, we have the change of leadership toast to Eric and welcoming in the new team. So it's 5 o'clock, and that Zoom code is on the newsletter that you just got a couple of days ago. And if not, just look on the district website. District website has so much information, so please visit the website. Okay? Thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Naomi.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Naomi,
Yes.
did you get the banner, or do you still need me to get that?
So can we do a picture like tomorrow or Wednesday with Jeff? Is Jeff? Oh, he just got off.
We can have a picture together. Just kidding.
Everybody come. Go to Pacific Club. We're going to take a picture by the banner. Dave, can Linda be there too?
Yeah, I can ask her to.
Okay.
We just need to arrange a time.
Let us know when, and we'll be there. We just want to take a real quick picture.
So probably Wednesday morning then?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me check with her and see if she's available, and I'll arrange that tomorrow with the Pacific Club so we can pick it up first thing on Wednesday morning.
Okay. Awesome.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thanks. Thank you, Dave. Excellent.
Well, thank
job.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Laura, Naomi, anything else you want to go over tonight before we sign out?
I was wondering if we can do a FAQ.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
I was just thinking, you know, when Kelly mentioned the audit, we at one time had a really great sheet from Ron Young that said, these are the questions that we're going to be asking you. Nobody remembers that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, because when we do our treasurer training, we always have that list, and so
good.
we could put the list on the website.
Then we could, that way, you know, because Kelly mentioned it's a good point to have, so that in case when you get audited, these are the kind of things the auditor will be looking for, so that you've got an idea to have them in advance.
Okay. So are we going to do that letter with the check? So when we give the grant checks out, we're going to have that letter, right, to remind people that they have to do certain things, so that at least they get it that time, they get it this time, and I think we just got to keep on repeating it.
Now you said you did decide that, sorry, Wes, we're going to have a foundation meeting here. Join in. No.
Nothing else to do. I'm sorry. I need to get some questions answered.
Oh, okay.
I'll wait.
Sure.
I can wait.
Oh, okay. We need to, you do want the checks to go to the assistant governors instead of to the foundation people on the islands? That was the only question
I don't care. It was just simpler to get it to the AGs because then you give it to them. But you know, we've had 2 years or 3 years of AGs losing checks or not giving it to people. So you know, whatever is going to work.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about it. We'll talk to each of the AGs and then see kind of what kind of feedback we get.
Okay, Alan.
I kind of would like to help present the checks also, if need be. I don't mind doing that, especially on Oahu, but maybe Neighbor Island as well. Or be there when the checks are distributed. Love to know that.
That's good, but I don't know if we have budget to go to Neighbor Island.
Oh, no. I'm not. I would do it on my dime. I travel a lot to Neighbor Islands.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
We're gonna get you one of those big checks that you can write in. And look at Alan Kamamoto's coming to the meeting, coming to the party.
There he is.
Hey,
Alan,
Alan.
aloha.
How you doing? Good to see you. Aloha.
Hey, Laura, good to see you.
Oh, I know. It's been so long. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, but maybe.
So we're gonna just get together and have parties at Mary Ann's.
Yeah, I know. And Alan, I got your playground right here, right above me. Got that playground ready for you whenever you want it.
Yeah.
Naomi, I'm going to sign out, but I will do a frequently asked question about the grant application form. If you want more than that, just let me know.
Yeah, so just some of the questions that were asked today, I think that would be good. And maybe we should wait till what Wes is going to be asking us.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I can wait.
Wes?
Naomi, do I proceed forward with the picnic?
Well, I think you had a grand question.
No, I'm trying to get some. You're hard lady to reach. I text you, I call you, but I'm just wondering. You know, you're concerned about the less than 100 person, but I figured ways around that if you want something humongous.
Yeah, I don't know if we can. If it's allowable, then that would be good. But
well, I don't know if it'll pass the 4-way test though. But if we have a linear picnic ground, 4 permits in a row of 100 each, have it broken out by districts on Oahu, I can see us moving people linearly instead of having people converging on a center. So we would need 4 permits of 100 people each. We break ourselves out by the districts. Then we do like a Amazing Race kind of thing and get everybody moving. Tell me, I need a committee though.
I better get off this call quick.
Yeah, quick.
Yeah, that's right. But if you're not here, you get volunteered.
Aloha, folks. I gotta go.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye
Dave.
now.
So why don't you call me later to talk about this, Naomi? But I think there's a way we can make this thing humongous like you want, and we can make it a lot of fun for everybody.
Okay.
You want a fellowship event, right?
Notice that Jeff is back, so you can talk about the banner.
Yeah, I kind of heard my name and I just pushed,
anyway,
I just logged off. Heard my name. Okay, now what's gonna happen on the 1st of July?
I'm sorry, Jeff, you're on my picnic committee anyway, so no backing down. But Naomi, call me if you want to talk about this more. I don't want to mess up your foundation meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Wes.
So Jeff, we need to, normally we do the banner exchange at the district conference. And so it's the outgoing president, so it would be Linda Santos, and you're the incoming, would be on each side of the banner, and then we do the exchange. So because of, stuff, we'll just go down to Pacific Club and take a picture with you and maybe Dave Monstrin on one side, and Linda and Dave on one side and you on the other side. We just take a picture.
When did you folks want to schedule this?
Dave is thinking of Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning.
And then we need to take the banner.
Where's the banner?
It's at the Pacific Club.
Oh, okay. Well, then we just have to meet down there.
Yeah.
And give me a time.
Well, in the morning, so probably what, 8:30, 9 o'clock maybe.
8:30. Well, okay. Let's confirm all that. 39.
Wear your shirt.
Bring my shirt. Which one? The
I
district.
said, wear your new Naomi shirt. Yes.
I got one Rudy shirt on right now. It's Bacardi West.
There you are.
It's the Monstera. And Laura, somebody on Maui said Big Island, she said the Monstera is an invasive plant, so she didn't want to.
It's a nice shirt. It's got some nice color. It's good. It's a good shirt.
Yeah, it was
I
good
want you to
price.
know, I ordered 2 more today, one for John and one for me. But you know what? The biggest size they had was an extra large. So you guys are all going to have to really help me to be able to get into that shirt, you know. Anyway, anything
Thank you.
you're going to send out an agenda for the first, or a time frame or a timeline, or you'll just let me know if you want something, right?
I think I
Or-
did. I think I did.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Okay,
thanks.
Great job.
Hey, so what, Alan? Did you ever
Yes.
talk about grants?
I'm sorry, what was that?
This webinar was on grants, how to fill out a grant app.
Yeah, I've been doing that for years already, so I'm okay.
He's one of the good people.
Well, yeah, I follow the rules.
He does.
But the problem is, yeah, Carol just told me she couldn't make it, so sorry, I'm late, so.
That's good.
But I'm real comfortable. I mean, I sent stuff to Laura. She said it was okay, so it must be right, so.
Yeah. Hey, the difference is that we changed the form today.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay.
Major
So it's
change, but it's for the good. I think this is the best move we've ever made.
Okay, good. Yeah, I really should go with this.
Yeah, no, it's real easy. We just combined the application and the final grant form, final report. Because if
Yeah.
you notice, they're basically mirror images of each other. So that way you
Oh.
don't have to fill it all out twice. If you don't, if you actually say this is what I'm going to do and this is what you actually do, you just
Yeah.
have to check a box, sign it, and you're done.
Okay, sounds good.
Which is 90% of our grants in most.
Yes, yes, sure, of course.
So it's an easy thing. You won't notice a major difference, right?
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. All righty. Take